Curtez, what's going on, man?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, funny thing is, when I got ready to separate from the military, retire from the military, man, we all had that fear. Take us back to the moment when it became real to you. Take us to the moment where you were like, I know I'm done. I know I'm about to hang it up. What did that feel like to you?
So I'm gonna have to go back to about year 15 in the service. I was a sergeant first class at the time, enlisted non-commissioned officer in the Army. I made the decision that I was ready to leave the service.
Okay.
To me, I was tired of being told what to do. I was tired of being told where to be, what my uniform was, and what my day was going to look like. I was just over the institutionalization that comes with life in service. So I made a decision to leave the military, and I was literally planning to leave at 16 years of service. I talked to my family, spoke to my loved ones, and my godfather, retired Army, his name's Lee Williams. He sat me down and told me that by leaving the military early, I was essentially going to be robbing myself of a part of my future that's important. When you factor in retirement, the long term benefits that come with that, he put me in a position that made me rethink my way forward. So I ended up staying for the next 5 years. But what I focused on during that time was how do I build a transition for myself that was going to be long lasting, that was going to be impactful, but I was going to use the next 5 years of my military career to prepare for that.
Okay.
So, for me, I started at 15 years and I used that time frame that I had left in uniform to really build out my vision, direct what my business was going to look like, but most importantly, accurately plan for success post military.
Okay. All right.
Nice, nice. I love that. And we've been knowing each other for several
A
years
few
now.
years.
Few years, right?
Yeah.
You've been a friend, a mentor, the whole nine. Talk to me a little bit about the resources.
Yeah. The resources. So, um, as we start to lean towards transition, the resources are abundant and they're everywhere. There's an entire ecosystem built on this transition process,
Yeah.
helping service members transition to life after military. So there's everything from TAP to floor block, four block to bunker labs, hire our heroes, and a host of other organizations that do nothing more than specializing in helping a service member transition from a life in uniform
Mhm.
to the life after uniform. So for me, if I take you back to 2018, I retired in 2018. So around 2016, I actually began my transition journey.
Okay.
And so for me at the time, I was focused on entrepreneurship. I knew that I was not going to work for anybody else.
Mm.
That was at least what I told myself at that point in time. So for me, I knew that I needed to figure out how do I take this concept, this idea, this business
Mhm.
that I have in my head and actually make something relevant out of it. So when I started my TAP program, I got hooked up with this program called Boots to Business.
Okay.
It was kind of like entrepreneurship 101, right? It taught me the foundational things that I needed to structure a business, but what it was missing was the how, right?
Okay.
It told me that I needed a business plan, I needed to do this, I needed to do that, but it didn't tell me exactly how to do that. And so I went on this journey looking for resources to help me understand the how. But the reality was the how came from me. The
Okay.
how didn't come from another entity, right? So what I would encourage anybody that's getting ready to step into this transition space and also to figure out what their next move is, the resources are just that. They're tools to empower you to learn how to make your transition a success for whatever your individual journey looks like for you, right? But the how has to come through application. The how has to come from those steps that you're actually going to take to find success post military on your own specific journey.
And was it overwhelming though?
Man, for me, not so much. And here's
Okay.
why, right? Um, I came into the world of recruiting at a very young age.
Okay.
So I think that I had maybe 6 years in the Army before I got pulled into recruiting.
6 years.
6 years.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I spent 14 years of my career in a civilian-like environment, right? But I was still in a uniform.
Okay.
So when I got pulled onto recruiting duty, they sent me back to my hometown. So, imagine me being 6 years removed from my hometown, and now I left as a nobody and I'm coming back as a somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I say that it wasn't a challenge for me because I got used to being in the civilian world, in the civilian landscape. And I had the time to detox myself mentally to understand that there's a whole world outside of this uniform. And so
Wow.
the soft skills that I learned by my time in recruiting prepared me or helped me, or I should say empowered me to be successful post-military. So it wasn't stressful, it wasn't crazy. Yeah, there were adjustments that I needed to make. I needed to think about how do I take myself from this middle class lifestyle that the Army has given me,
Wow.
right? and then
That's real.
shrink the way I live to support the income that I'm going to have post military.
Yeah.
That was the hard part. So you go from a two-family house, or excuse me, a two-car household to a one-car household.
Yeah.
I went very radical because I knew I wanted to step out and be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Income isn't guaranteed as an entrepreneur. And when I say entrepreneur, I'm just talking about someone that hustles his way to success.
Yeah.
Right. I've always had an inner hustle in me. I always wanted to do more. I've always had an additional job, moonlighting,
Yeah.
so to speak, while I was in service. Right. So for me, I had to figure out how to live within this bubble that I was going to have to produce for myself. Right.
Yeah.
That was where my stress came from. The process of transitioning, not so much.
Number one, I couldn't imagine going back to Beaumont, Texas,
Mm.
after being in the Air Force for 6 years, being a recruiter. Mentally, I don't think I would have been prepared because my boys, everything that comes with being a teenager, I grew up there, right? So I don't know if I could have done that. So kudos to you. But um, did the Army prepare you for that transition from what was your MOS
I was prior to.
prior to being a
So
recruiter?
I was a 19 Delta, so Cavalry Scout. I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I can honestly say that the
Mm,
biggest blessing that happened to me in my career was being pulled onto recruiting duty.
wow.
Okay.
Okay. So you go from high school to a scout to recruiting. Talk to me a little bit about the experiences that you learned in the Army and how that played a role in your success.
So I'm coming back to this word institutionalized,
Yeah.
right? I grew up in Flint, Michigan. So from Flint, Michigan, I didn't have much, right?
Mhm.
Every day you're hustling and you're looking for creative ways to survive and thrive, right? I graduated high school with a 2.6 GPA. College was never on the outlook for me, right? I knew that in order to find success, I had to come up with a creative way to do it, and the military was the path forward for me, right?
Okay.
So imagine this. I come from a single parent home. I'm growing up in Flint, Michigan,
Mhm.
limited resources. I'm poorest of the poor, and now I'm in the military, right?
Got a little
So
change.
got a little change, right? So with that, there's comes a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
right? What I learned over the years that helped propel me to where I'm at today, I tell people all the time, I relied on what the Army taught me to find success post-military.
Yeah.
The Army taught me discipline.
Mhm.
It taught me leadership. It taught me responsibility. It taught me creativity. It taught me how to function with limited resources,
Yeah.
right? It taught
Yeah.
me how to get the job done no matter what. The mission was what we needed to accomplish, right? With leadership, I learned accountability.
Yeah.
And from recruiting, I learned storytelling. And so as I think about my journey over the last few years, I'm a creative storyteller who's learned how to be accountable, and I build teams just like the Army taught me.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
success is driven from what the Army taught me. And I rely on that because those soft skills that I learned through service
Mhm.
is what's driving me to success post military.
Wow.
That's awesome, man. So the other day, Q hit me over the head with this term called veteranpreneurship. And so in that, as you transition out of the military and you're going into your own entrepreneurship, what were some of the struggles, the roadblocks, or let's put it in terms we understand,
Yeah.
the landmines
The
that you stepped
landmines,
on?
right? Lack of resources. So if we can be incredibly raw for a moment, right? Um, Opportunities for African Americans in general is a stretch,
Right.
right? And so I struggled with imposter syndrome for a long time.
Ooh,
Um,
that's a real one.
Being able to step into rooms and feel like you belong in those rooms.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know how to network,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know how to walk into a room and already had blueprint information or basically taking the time to research who I want to essentially be on my hit list, right?
Right, right,
I would walk into a room and I would try to pitch every single person I was connecting
Mm.
with. The reality was, I learned quickly that those people weren't interested in anything I had to say,
right.
right? So, networking, and then also, most importantly, mentorship,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So, everything that we were taught in the military, there was a non commissioned officer or a junior officer that helped you climb that ladder, so to speak. They taught you what the TMs or FMs said, they helped you interpret it, and they helped you apply it,
Yeah.
right? But in the civilian sector or in this world of veteran entrepreneurship, there weren't a lot of mentors that were really willing to take the time to hear me out and understand what my vision was. I could articulate what I wanted to do.
Right.
I wanted to launch an experience that brought the military connected community together to connect and empower one another. But everybody I talked to, they couldn't visualize it, right?
Right.
They weren't willing to invest their time in me. But over the years, I watched this person and that person find mentorship and support. And with that mentorship and support comes financial resources, right?
Absolutely.
And so, networking, mentorship, but those financial resources is really what you need to drive that train and help you get your business off the ground. My biggest challenge centered around those three areas, man. Finding the ability to network, knowing how to network. And all I'm talking about at the core of this is walking into a room, knowing who's going to be there in advance, doing your homework, and finding one or two people that can justify your experience for stepping in that room, right?
Right.
You know, I don't need to know everybody. I need to find two people that's going to help propel what I'm doing,
Right.
right? I need to be able to identify a mentor and know what to ask a mentor for, right? And then I need to figure out how to get the financial resources to drive what I'm trying to create.
Okay. So let's fast forward to today.
Mhm.
You've come up with this awesome community called the Military Influencer Community. What does that look like? What is that exactly? And how does that help someone like me stepping out of the military and wanting to do something new?
Yeah, so MIC, or the Military Influencer Conference, is an annual gathering of what I refer to as influential leaders from the military connected community who use our positions, authority, and power to reach back and help those that are crossing the line, right? I never want to be in a position where I'm not doing something for those that are following in my footsteps, right? So MIC is an annual gathering. It's a once a year experience where we bring the community together to connect and to collaborate, right?
Okay.
It's a 3-day experience, very uplifting, and we build it from the ground up. And what I mean by that is like, this is our 10th anniversary. We have 10 years of experience doing this, and we've created a grassroots movement, and we rely on former attendees to help us understand and what to build this into being.
Awesome. Awesome.
I love everything that you stand for, everything that you do in the community because you played a key part in my growth,
Hmm.
right? You know, it was 2017, 2018, something like that when we first met. Um, we met at Randolph Brooks at one of the CMA events. So
Yes.
shout out to Shantae. But then fast forward, just asking you, what do you do? Who are you? Right. Then I think we attended a Mill City meetup one
Hmm.
night. We were out in Garden Ridge, somewhere in that area of San Antonio. And I asked you, how do you get started? And you took my driver's license. And the next day I had an LLC. Right. So I'm forever grateful because number one, that helped propel me and push me into my entrepreneurship or my entrepreneurship drive. But also, to your point, it's just giving back,
Yeah.
right? You had learned and gained all this wisdom from your military service, from being out here and trying to find sponsors and people to just really support you. But here you are giving back to me. So again, I really appreciate all of that. What's next?
Hmm. What's next? So, right now I serve as the director. I'm sorry, I just got a promotion title wise, right?
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
Yay.
So
That's big.
I work as the VP of strategy and engagement for a company called Recurrent.
Hmm.
So you mentioned Kathy earlier. Sorry, Kathy Torres Pommel. She's the general manager, and she leads a media conglomerate that's focused on the military connected community.
Yes.
So service members, veterans, and spouses, we get our content from military connected communities, military connected publishers. That's Task and Purpose, We Are the Mighty, in the War Zone. And I oversee all of our agency work and any experiences that we create.
What do you what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Personally, it's so I grew up not having much of anything, man. So what keeps me up at night, what drives me, is financial stability,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, as I think about this, and I want to be very careful how I say it, right? Um, I have a deep rooted fear of losing what I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, you talk about childhood trauma,
Yeah.
right? I grew up and I had a sunroof that didn't have a pane of glass there.
Mhm.
So I grew up in a residence that I had a hole in my ceiling, and anytime it rained, the rain would hit our bed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I have a deep rooted fear about losing everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like everything that I do is shaped about more or less protecting my resources
Hmm.
and putting myself in a position where I never have to revert back to where I grew up in. I never want my children to be in a position where they have to grow up without. So for me, and it may be selfish to some, but it's from my childhood, man.
Yeah.
What keeps me
Yes.
up at night is the fact that I want to make sure that me and my little ones have what they need to succeed in life. So they don't have to follow down the same trajectory that I did, right? Military life isn't like it exactly used to be. We
Yeah.
live in a different time and climate today. And so I want to make sure that I have the resources and stability to help them pursue their dreams because there was nobody there when I was a 17, 18-year-old kid helping me do that.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So the hopes is that we live long enough to grow wise. And with that wisdom, what are the three nuggets that you would pass on to some of us transitioning today that we could implement that will help us in our future journeys?
Got you. So the first would be centered around trust in what you know. Um, I don't have a formal college education. I made summer first class in 7 years. I stayed as an E7 for seven more. And the reason it took me so long to get promoted was because I needed a piece of paper called a college degree.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes.
right. And so this college degree that I got was, in my opinion, it was a joke. I sat behind a computer. I would read a paragraph. I'd answer a couple questions. I did that for 3 years. I got a degree. And guess what came the next year?
That promotion.
That promotion
Mm.
came, right? And so, I look back on this piece of paper I got, and everything I do today, that piece of paper has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
All right. Everything I do today is centered around what I learned through my time in service.
Mm.
So I tell people all the time, trust what you know. Because I mean, if we dedicate a career, whether it's 5 years or 20, you've learned a lot over that time. And how do you take those lessons learned and you apply it to find success? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Trust what you know. The next one is going to be centered around those action steps, right? We all have goals, we all have things that we want to do and we want to get done in life, but a goal is nothing if you don't take those active steps to move forward.
Yes.
You have to take those steps, right? And then the third thing would be don't ever let anybody tell you what you can't get done.
Yeah, right.
So
Exactly.
if I think
Exactly.
about all the naysayers that I've heard over the years, my own struggles with stepping into myself with imposter syndrome, right? Um, there's a lot of people who've told me what I couldn't do or what I would never be able to create.
Okay.
But over the years, I've created several different ventures. All of them have found success in different areas. But most importantly, everything that I do is to give back to those people that don't have the same opportunities as
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Right. So I'm all about creating opportunities for those that exactly can't create them for themselves.
In order for you to get to that point, did you have someone holding you accountable saying, "Hey, this is what you said you wanted to do. Now go out and do it," or was it kind of more self-motivating?
It's self motivated, man. It's self motivating. So, um, a lot of people in life have never really been hungry.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about, the fact of the physical feeling of starvation.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking about hungry to the point where you want something and you're not going to let anybody tell you you can't get that done.
Right.
So, yes, I've had accountability partners over the years. I've had mentors, but the core of who I am, I'm self-motivated and I'm driven because I have this hunger that just like can't be quenched.
Right.
I have a desire for more and I have a desire for impact. I have a desire for creating change that's driven from within me. And a lot of it is driven or created by my youth and upbringing. And so when I think about, being a 14-year-old kid in Flint, Michigan, picking up bottles at a ballpark to make sure that I have shoes on my feet, right?
Right.
And that took about 700 bottles
Bottles. Yep.
so I could turn them in to get those dimes, right? And I'm not talking about weed, I'm talking about literal dimes.
Right.
Taking that stuff to the grocery store to get to a point that I could put shoes on my feet and support myself where my mom fill in the gaps that my mom couldn't, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this hunger that I have is purely driven from my desire to change my life, find consistency, but most importantly, instill that in my children and for those that are following in my footsteps.
Right.
And when you talk about kids, right? And I know we can go down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
talking about kids and their drive and where we are today as parents, right? And what we provide them. But does that creativity, that ambition, that hunger, does it keep you up at night?
Yeah. So I think I realized a year or two ago that I have a adult version of ADHD. Um, And, of course, it's undiagnosed, right? But if I think about it, man, my mind doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I have to literally sometimes temper myself because I'm a creative.
Yeah.
We're sitting here now. I walked into this studio.
Mm.
I'm amazed.
Uh,
And so automatically where my head go, right?
What's
Yeah.
next?
What's
What's next?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
how do I take this concept, tweak it, and figure out how to make it for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things where these are the rabbit holes my mind falls down
Yeah.
because I'm a creative, right? I create, I find opportunity, and I'm always looking for a way to make something more efficient or a way to make something more a way to make something better.
Yeah.
And I see things and I'm like, man, there's a problem, here's a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I could be the person that solves that solution, this equates to this, and allows me to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How important is your network? And in particular, I'm thinking of like the George Bush Veteran Leadership Program, different organizations that you've been a part of. How important is that network when it comes to feeding
Yeah.
that creative style that you have?
So the saying is your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Man, that's a fact. I am small segue, right? Um, we have several positions open right now at our company.
Yeah.
And there are just some people, if they call me, one of my VLPers called me and said, "Hey, Curtez, I see you got a job open. I got the perfect person for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't know this person. You know me. I wouldn't send you anybody that's a flake or a dud,
Mm.
right?" Immediately, I found that person's application.
Mm-hmm.
I reviewed it, verified qualifications, double check with HR, and I did an interview today.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of us that are transitioning, some people may say it's favoritism, but man, you have to be connected.
Yes.
You have to know who's moving and shaking in our space.
Yeah.
You have to find alignment and you have to figure out creative ways to demonstrate your value.
Yeah.
And so I like to also think of myself as a super connector, man. I'm one of those guys that hold favors, right?
Yeah.
You talked about, how I helped you when you first got your job.
Yeah.
I've never asked you for a favor back.
No.
Right. But one day it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's like,
Okay.
Godfather.
There it
coming.
is. And so think about that, man. I know a lot of people, and the way that I've been able to expand my network is I'm a doer.
Right.
I'm also a giver.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I see somebody that has a need, I see somebody that's struggling with something that I've already been able to obtain.
Yeah.
I am the first one to volunteer to support that individual if time allows.
Right.
And so what I've done over the years is I've expanded my network with people who owe me favors. And because I never really ask for much in return, when I finally reach out with a need, man, it's amazing to see who's really coming to support me.
Right.
Okay. And so what I like to tell people about networking, and this is something I learned later in life. We step into a room and we're always asking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man, I step into a room and I'm looking to solve problems. I'm looking to figure out how can I help someone, because what I'm doing is creatively building my network and expanding it with people who at some point in time, if I have a need and they're in a position to support me, trust me, man, it's that karma, that impact is going to come back and benefit me.
It comes back around, no
Yeah.
doubt. There's a couple of books that I read. One Super Connector,
Yeah.
right, and the other Demystifying Corporate America,
Mm.
right. Changed my whole perspective on corporate and how to transition out of the military with success.
Mm.
Is there anything on your reading list, book list? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious. What do you read?
Oh man, so when I read, it's like a detox. It's a break.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, but for reading, man, you don't want to know what I read. I read science fiction and fantasy books.
Okay.
Hey, come
You
on.
know.
What's your favorite?
What is my favorite book? Now you put me on the spot. So, man, I'm gonna expose myself at the same time. So I'm a Star Wars guy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And a lot of people don't know, but when Disney acquired the rights to Star Wars,
Yeah.
there was an entire genre of Star Wars fiction that had been created.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
in this genre, or I should say in this branch of Star Wars, right? There's a kid named Anakin Skywalker, and it's
Yeah.
not Darth Vader, right?
Right.
This is Princess Leia's son, and he has an older brother and an older sister named Jason and Jaina, right?
Wow.
So I'm getting into the weeds a little bit.
No, that's good. That's
Okay.
good stuff.
But
Picking your
so
brain here.
there's a whole book series called The Young Jedi.
Right.
And it's about the continuation of what happened after The Last Jedi, right?
Okay.
Okay.
And so all of the main cast have kids. These kids, of course, are force users. They grow up, they develop, they get stronger. But there's a book called Star by Star, and to today it's my favorite book from a science fiction
That's
standpoint.
awesome.
And I know most of the people you're gonna get on here are gonna talk about I read this book and I read that book
Yeah.
from an educational standpoint, man. But man, my brain can only hold so much. I need a break, and I
Yeah.
find my pleasure from reading.
That's
And
awesome.
so in Star by Star, it tells the story how Anakin sacrifices himself so that his older brother and the rest of the team can not only survive the mission that they were on at that time, but that they could thrive and continue on, right? So the lesson for that in me, man, is like when I think about myself, how I can step into gaps where other people can't speak up, right? I'm always reminded of that, and it's a silly science fiction book, but I have a voice, I have a power that most people don't have the ability to use.
Right.
All right. I can't change the color of my skin,
Right.
but I'm in rooms where I'm constantly in rooms where I'm the only one of me.
Yeah.
Just think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
The only one of me. And so I used to walk in with this fear that because I'm the only one of me, I can't say anything.
Yeah. It's
I'm
lonely.
intimidated. There's
Yes.
nothing in this room that reflects any of my experiences.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over the years is I have a unique perspective. I have a unique a set of experiences that's given me certain insights and wisdoms into our community that other people need to hear.
Yes.
And so, no different than a book, he stepped into the breach. I think it's my responsibility now to step into breaches, to look out for those that look like me and others that are following in our footsteps that can't speak up for themselves.
Yeah.
Number one, going back to the book, that's art imitating life.
Mhm.
Yes.
And number two, it's biblical, right? Your gift will make room and put you before wise men. I share that with you because oftentimes in the space that I'm in, um, I'm the only one who may look like me in a leadership position, right? Or just on the phone call,
Right.
right? So I'm looking around like, okay, right? Do you bring, Quincy from Beaumont, Texas? Do you bring Curtez from
Code
Flint, Michigan?
switching.
Code
Code
switching,
switching.
right? Again, this episode can go down many roads with our good friend Curtez, but I mean, do you mind if we spend a few minutes talking about that?
I'm game for whatever.
You good with that, Ryan?
I'm good with that,
All
man.
right,
Let's do it.
let's go there.
So where we going?
Just how do you bring your authentic self, i.e., Flint, Michigan, i.e., recruiting for all the time you spend in
Yeah.
recruiting, to corporate, to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so let me tell a story. I'm the founder of MIC. I launched it back in 2016 with the support of USAA. Virtual calls didn't become a big thing to COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so most of the time, you'd prior to that, we jump on a conference call. Okay, you'd have the free conference line or whatever. You dial in and you'd be on a call with a representative from another company.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zoom, yeah, so it was just now getting started, but it was out there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to mention a company, but if you close your eyes for a minute and you hear my voice, and in most cases, if I slow down and you listen to me pronounce my words, and your eyes are closed, some people would have the assumption that you wouldn't see who's in front of you.
Right.
And so I'm on this call with a guy from this company that I can't say. And first off, he's like, "Hey, Curtis." So people
Yeah.
always
Mess up your
mispronounce my
name.
name.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, Curtis, I heard about this conference thing that you created. It seems pretty interesting, and I want my company to be involved, right? Here's my budget. What could we do?" So I put together a package for this guy. We have a great conversation,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic conversation. I just know that I've sold a deal that with this new company that I didn't have a relationship with,
Yeah.
right? So he schedules a follow-up call, and now we're on a video call. Okay. I don't remember what platform it was, but we jump on this video call and I put my camera on, and the first thing, the guy's there and his team's coming on a call.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy looks at me and he says, "Hey, when is Curtis gonna get on a call?" And my son, my son has to be maybe 8 at this point in time.
Yeah.
The first thing he said, he's like in the other room and he's like, "Dad, why is that guy calling you Curtis?"
Ah.
Right? And the guy's like looking at me And I said, I'm Curtez. We talked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is what we talked about. And his whole demeanor completely
Shifted.
shifted.
Mm.
So we went from having a productive conversation where this guy is getting ready to invest or sponsor into what I'm building. And then we have our first physical interaction. And now he's in a position where he's asking about my credibility.
Yeah.
How did you get the resources to do this? You know, who taught you how to do what you're doing?
Yeah.
Who is supporting you?
Right.
And why would this other company give you money to do this?
Mm.
And at the time, in that moment, I didn't realize what I was experiencing until my own 8-year-old son pointed it out.
Out of the mouth of
Man,
babes.
hey,
Mm.
My son said after the call, Dad, I don't think he likes you.
Mm.
Why didn't he like you? And the only thing that had changed between those two conversations was one was virtual
Mm-hmm.
and the other one was a telephone call. So my presence, my physical image put him in a position where he no longer wanted to do business with me.
Wow.
So how do I survive in this space? I've learned to be as authentic as I possibly can.
Yeah.
yeah.
That way, I don't want no confusion or no misunderstanding about what I bring to the table. I'm also in a unique position because I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I have a decade of experience of building engaging events and activations in our space.
Brand recognition.
Brand recognition, and I also have a network to support me,
Yeah.
right? It is a challenge coming from Flint, Michigan, to stepping into these corporate boardrooms. It is a challenge. And most times, yes, I am physically and mentally intimidated.
Yeah.
But now I think from the standpoint of not only do where I may be short from an educational background,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have years of experience. And in most cases, I am the only person in that room that's created something.
Right.
Think about that,
Yeah.
right? Created something. Most people that I communicate with or I interact with, they left service, they became a corporate drone, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean that to be disrespectfully, but it's the truth, right? They work a corporate gig and that's all they know.
Yeah.
But when I look at my breadth of experience, I'm doing the corporate thing, but I've also built something, man.
Yeah.
I have brand recognition and I'm able to stand on my own 10 toes and look at people in their eye despite our differences. And in most cases, like, man, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I have to own, I'm coming into myself, man, and it's very empowering.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, you couldn't have got me on a podcast. Just not my thing. I don't have
Yeah.
time.
No,
Yeah,
I
hear
know.
You know,
I hear you.
but now I'm coming into myself. I'm comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm most importantly comfortable to stand up for people that can't speak up for themselves.
And I'm gonna throw this over to Ryan
Yeah.
because Ryan, I don't know if you know him, but he was an officer. He was
Mhm.
enlisted first, but then
Yes.
he's an officer, right? So can you talk a little bit about your experience when it comes to how do you fit in the world, right, that you're in?
So man, it goes back to the whole code switching thing, and I know I'm gonna butcher the story, but there was a story that I heard once that there were two generals. They were friends. They were
Mm.
pilots, and after a mission, they were walking back home, and one of the generals that didn't look like us says, "Hey, I'm going to the O Club. You coming with me?" And the other one looks at him. He goes, "No, man, I'm not going in there because there's no one in there that looks like me."
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to that knowing which rooms you can or cannot walk into and be your authentic self. So it took a while for me to, number one, going from the enlisted to the officer side, because there's a certain way that we talked, we interacted, and talked to our subordinates on the enlisted side as an NCO. When I became an officer, I still felt more comfortable with my NCOs and senior NCOs,
Yeah.
which made it hard for me to walk into rooms with officers and hold conversations because, again, that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Syndrome. So it took me a while to finally say, you know what? I've built enough credibility to stand on my own 2 feet, 10 toes down, and say, I know what I'm talking about. I can sit at this table with generals and brief them on things that are going on their airfield, multi-billion-dollar infrastructures, and tell them how we should spend their money and be comfortable in that.
Yeah.
So it took a while though. It took, I would say, probably into my third year of being an officer before I got to that point.
Yeah, I just would encourage anybody in a similar situation, as you prepare to transition and you start to walk into these rooms,
Mm-hmm.
do your homework, know who's there, figure out dynamics and personalities, understand the power dynamic of a room, do, I mean, basic blueprinting, right?
Right.
And I mean, we live in a world, we are talking about AI jokingly earlier, right? Um, this is how simple it is, right? I'm coming on a podcast with Quincy, last name, Ryan, last name. Tell me about these people.
Yeah.
And what would Chat GPT? I call him Charlie, right?
Charlie.
What
Charlie.
would Charlie do? Chat GPT is going to research for you and it's going to provide you context and information about who you're interacting with.
Right.
That's a very simple way to use it. And so as I walk into rooms, I don't go on LinkedIn and look all these people up. I take the list, I put it in Chat GPT, tell me of all these people, based upon what you know about me, who should I interact with and why? And tell me some facts about them that I could use to start a conversation. And what
That,
does it do? It gives me the information.
that
Yeah.
simple.
Okay. It's that simple. And so none of this is complicated. You just got to do your homework.
I think the thing that's changed from maybe when I first enlisted in 98 to today is there's more opportunity for service members to realize that the only way isn't I serve my 20 and then I roll into a GS job,
Yeah.
because there is so much more out there. So people like yourself are laying that foundation and the blueprint for us to be able to do something other than just roll into, not that there's anything with rolling into a GS position,
No, nothing wrong.
but there are other opportunities out there for us as long as we know who to talk to and how to go about it.
Yeah, I call it a non-traditional approach to transition. This is the stuff they don't teach you in
Yeah.
TAP.
Yeah.
TAP is about, providing you with the resources and tools you need to find your next job.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I went through TAP and they were talking to me about a job interview, I'm 47 years old and I've never had a job interview.
Isn't that's weird? That's a weird feeling.
It is,
Yes.
right? I've never had a job interview. Okay, so when I was going through TAP, I already knew that like this isn't applicable to me.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've written maybe 2 resumes in my entire life.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have been incredibly fortunate and blessed to be able to carve out what my road to successes look like. I'm in a very unique position, and
Yeah.
I'm not oblivious to that. I'm very
Right.
self-aware about how blessed and fortunate I've been over the years to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
But a non-traditional approach is doing anything that's not the contemporary approach that we're taught that we have to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, for you served 20 years in a uniform, that's a long time. That's
Yes.
2 decades of service. And I may want to I may want to paint. I want to find my happiness in the arts.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I may want to go back and be an elementary school teacher,
Yeah.
right? That's where my heart is. And there should be nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Okay. I think that we should spend more time teaching people how to find happiness,
Mm.
okay, to find hope
Yes.
instead of chasing a paycheck.
Yes.
All of us have different upbringings, challenges, and struggles. And yeah, I mean, financial security is important to most of us, but nobody ever taught me how to downsize my quality of life to make sure that I can live within my means.
Right.
Those are the lessons we need more of, in my
Yes.
opinion. Not, you work 20 years, you're making 110K as a senior non-commissioned officer, and you need to get your retirement and disability that's going to be 2/3 of that. But oh, by the way, you need to get another
Another
six-figure
job.
job.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no room for happiness. And so,
Right.
because of my own addiction, and I'm talking about, I don't have, let me be very careful how I say this, right? My addiction is my drive.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to doing more.
Yes.
Okay. And my family has suffered because of that.
Right.
That's my addiction.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm constantly pulled to doing something else. But I think if someone at 15 years of service would have sat me down and said, "Hey, Curtez, this is what your life should be based on, right? Hope, happiness, harmony, right? Peace of mind."
Mm.
Yeah, I think I would be a more happier person. I would still have that drive and ambition, but these are the things that aren't really taught to us, man.
Right.
Yeah. The
We're
things
just
that bring you peace.
that bring you peace and peace of mind, you
Right.
know? So all of us will continue moving in our own direction. I just hope that those that, may hear this, right, or may have the opportunity to tune in and listen to us talk today, that they see that there's other options out there
Yes.
and figure out the best way for them to find their own path to their happiness based upon what that looks like for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love
Uh,
it. I love it, man. This is a great, damn near a TED talk. right?
Hey,
It's sitting down, understanding who you are, looking at your body of work, what you've created, and how to move forward. Right. I love the chat GPT. I love everything that you've kind of dropped on us this afternoon. So, um, anything else, Ryan?
nah, man, I just want to thank you for your time first and foremost. I know we all have busy lives, kids, and so on. So for you to carve out some time for us, greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, fellas, consider me a supporter. Whatever y'all guys need that's within my wheelhouse to support, I'm down. But no, thank you for this. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Much love, much success. Thank you. Shout out to Miss Kathy, your teammate.
Yep.
She's a large and huge supporter of the military community. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Curtez.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Sure.